I was like homeless in Japan for a week. I was 18 years old. Like, what can really happen here now? That's just what happens every day. You're just putting out fires. We're probably going to be in the hole for a bit, but then we're going to get out of it, and then it's going to be really profitable. Just to start, you'll fail, you'll fall, but you just get up and you just keep going. You're probably going to get there quicker than the person that was just trying to make everything perfect before start. First, like 2 months of ads, it was like crickets. So maybe at this point we were like 30, 35K in the hole. Just like trying to figure out ads. Oh, we're probably going to lose money at the beginning. Like you don't just go for the vanity metrics of like, oh, what's my cost per lead? What's my cost per call? It's more so, okay, what's my CAC? Just CAC to LTV at the end of the day. Choosing your battles and being good at prioritizing. Kind of failing taught me that it's okay to fail.
What about like Japan helped shape your outlook and comfort with rapid change?
There's like this one situation in Japan that happened. So I was staying with this host family, and then all of a sudden it was like a Sunday. I was out with like a buddy. I came back Sunday night, and then the host mom was just like packing her bags in like the middle of the living room, and I was like, what's going on? And then she was like, Alex, we need to talk. I really didn't like completely understand because she didn't like mention it explicitly, but it seemed to me as if they were like getting divorced. And so the like homestay and having kind of like foreigners over stay at their house was more so like her thing. And so it was me and this guy from Taiwan living with another. It was it was the mom, the dad, and then three kids. So it was 7 people. It was 7 people, one bathroom, which was crazy.
Mhm.
But essentially what ended up happening was I was like homeless in Japan for a week. Uh, and I was in like finals, right? Because I was like studying Japanese. And so I was trying to move to the next kind of level. And if you fail that test, you had to like redo the last 3 months. And I was only there for a year. So I was like, no, I can't be doing this. And so it was kind of tough because I kind of knew the language, but not too much. I was 18 years old. I was just by myself over there. Yeah, I ended up living with a buddy for like a week, like on his couch. And then they wanted to send me. So I went to like the homestay, the company, and they wanted to send me to like they want to send me like to like Chiba, David, which is like really far, right? And it was like with this family that was a little bit older too. So I was like, it's my last 3 months. I don't know if I want to stay there. And so that was a whole situation. And then I ended up moving to it was a share house. So it was just a bunch of foreigners living in like this huge house. But it was like, now just looking back at it, it wasn't really that tough. But at the moment, I remember being super stressed out. Like my eye was just like, because I guess I was 18. I didn't really know anyone other than like a couple of buddies, and yeah. But I think that was the biggest one. I still think about that to this day. And I'm like, wow, like, that happened.
It's interesting how we categorize things and label things, and you assume something like a homestay is a fixed brick and mortar, always going to be there, and then you have this slice of like real life happening,
Yeah.
and it upends everything. I mean, COVID was like that for all of us, and yeah, you got to think on your feet. And looking back, do you have some appreciation for the chaos that you navigated?
1,000%. Because now with like the company, it's like that's just what happens every day, right? You're just putting out fires. So definitely, and I think that served me really, really well, just kinda having those stressful situations early on, just to know that it also I feel like it's giving me confidence of like, "Okay, I went through that, I was by myself in Japan, like, what can really happen here now if I can, like, speak the language, I can get around," you know? So everything just gets exponentially easier,
Hmm.
after I think after going through some of those things. I guess now looking back, it really wasn't that big of a deal, but to an 18-year-old kid at that point in time, it was.
You thought you were studying for a Japanese test, and life had a different test in mind.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Although I guess from what you told me, David, Japan's probably quite a good country to be homeless in if you had to be for a week.
If you have to be,
Yeah.
yeah, it's always better to have a home though.
You studied law in Mexico City, Alex,
I
and
did.
my wife also studied law when she went to
Oh,
Anaheim.
nice.
So tell me about how what you learn from a law degree that you apply in your business.
Mm, So I did. So I didn't finish, right? So I only did 4 years of law school. I started working on Drippy maybe like a year and a half, 2 years in. Uh, I guess the biggest one, I feel like a lot of people get kind of like scared whenever there's I don't know, like scared just drafting up contracts or like getting a contract or getting an NDA. It's like, okay, well, like I need to read through this, and then they don't understand half the terms, and it's like, okay, well, am I kind of getting screwed here? Am I not? Like good terms? Like what's going on? So I think a lot of it is just being able to get those documents, be like, okay, well, I can kind of, obviously I always still try to like rely on my buddies that did end up finishing just for like their just to get another view on things. But it's been good to not get scared. And I use that term very lightly because I don't know if it's the correct term, but just being able like the legal world, if you will, like not being afraid of taxes, kind of knowing what's going on there. Like whenever there's a new company or whenever I like jumped onto Drip, it's like, okay, well, these are the documents I need to sign. Like this is what's happening, equity, like the vesting schedule, like all that stuff, right? So it has served me really well. Like contracts, whenever we hire someone new, it's like, okay, well, I can make it. I can shoot it over. If they have any questions about it, like I can explain what it means. So it has been really useful in that sense. And then also, I think just the fact that it was hard and that I was kind of trying to do that and working at the same time, that also feel like whenever I dropped out, it was like, okay, like a huge weight was lifted off my back. And it just made I guess life easier and more enjoyable. But yeah, a bunch of things. And I don't regret because people are like, dude, you did 4 years. Like, come on, why didn't you just finish? But I don't regret it. Like I don't regret not finishing or starting it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 4 years is a lot of time to learn a bunch of useful things in between. And and
Yeah.
even so, my wife, she did finish her law degree. But she was a lawyer for like 3 months before she then completely. She's now a software engineer. So,
Wow.
but there's still things that have been learnt there. Every time I ever have a contract, I just send it to her so that she can have a look. That there's always going to be use that you can take from experiences, whether you finish in the traditional way or take it that way. There's still gems along the journey.
I agree. And some very, very useful things. And also just the like just knowing people. I think the university has that, I think it's one of the biggest upsides, right? You just meet a bunch of people. And if you're in the right universities, then you're gonna meet people that are gonna probably be someone in like a couple years down the road. So just kind of knowing people and being able to rely on, I mean, because they're friends at that point, right? After spending 4 years with them, like they're buddies now. But yeah, definitely it was a good experience, but I don't regret necessarily dropping out.
It is like a milestone. I kind of go back and forth on the value of institutionalized
Mm,
education. I think it's good if you feel drawn to it. I think like most things, it depends on how you show up. You could go to the library and join like a bunch of networking things after your 9 to 5 in town or whatever, or talk to people around the world. You could do a lot to kind of supplement or sorry, replace institutionalized education. But I think one thing it has, aside from the fancy buildings and stuff and the brand perhaps on your resume, is a milestone. So if you could create some kind of adventure with someone, then that'd be like a bookmark in the chapter, like in their life, and that would bond you. And so there would be, because it's hard to make friends as an adult because we're very fluid. But
right.
when you go through those transformational chapters, it's kind of like a binding agent. It's like, oh, Alex is my bro. Like, even though we only talked a couple times, we're both connected to this like kind of DNA strand in our I forget what the term is, but you know, that marker in our legacy. So I think that's one thing. If you're going to sidestep institutionalized education, try to think of how to make it an adventure, and then I think that probably covers all bases or most
Yeah.
bases.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm not against kind of like institutionalized education at all. I think if you don't know what you want to do, then definitely go to school. I'd way rather like school than just being kind of like, I don't know, just on your parents' couch, not doing anything. But if I think if you're doing something that doesn't necessarily require it, and you can find some other ways to get that kind of the networking and all that stuff, then it's not, or at least I'm saying that right now. Maybe I regret it in a couple of years. I don't know. But yeah.
Well, it certainly seems like you're spending your time well. Could you talk to us like what was the aha moment, if you will, that led to launching Drippy, and what problem does it solve?
Yeah, so Drippy's it's a funny one because Drippy's like a Twitter DM sending tool, right? So it's cold email, but on Twitter specifically, or X now. And I actually didn't start it. So I was one of the first like 30 users. I was still in law school, and then I got a random DM sent by this like random account that ended up being my now partner Jayan. And he was just using the tool to market the tool. We ended up hopping on a call. I ended up not closing on that first call for whatever reason. I think I was using some other tool that now disappeared. And then it was just kind of perfect timing to where I had just jumped onto Twitter. I've gotten my first couple clients like ever, and it was through Twitter. And I was like, okay, well, there's something here. And then he sent me a message. He was like, yo, check this tool out. We were just getting started. So then I started using it after a couple more follow-up messages from my boy Jayan, and then we kind of just became buddies. I like started just promoting Drippy, telling people about Drippy. He started sending me people because essentially what I had was an agency that used Drippy to get clients for our clients, and so yeah, I guess I was like one of the biggest Drippy users, and then we started working together with like some small stuff. And then now I think it was like summer of last year. It's now been like a year. He was like, "Yo, do you want to just merge?" So that's what we ended up doing. He had the SaaS. It was a super small team. He was just kind of doing everything. There was obviously like customer support. There was another dev, but no one really taking care of growth. And he knew that I like doing that, and we had become good buddies at this point. So it was like, "Yo, do you want to merge?" I was like, "Sweet, dude, let's do it." And then yeah, we've been growing that ever since.
Could you talk about early traction and how you like gathered user feedback?
Yeah. So, that's a great one actually, because when I hopped on, and I just recorded a video on this. When I hopped onto Drippy, it had been stuck for like that whole year at around 25K MRR. And so they were kind of like, okay, we're just stuck here. We need to do something about this. I think that's kind of why they were looking to bring someone on. And then we did a couple things. So we just started doing more. And this is a huge Hermosi thing, but just more and better of what we were already doing. So just a bunch more outreach, bunch more content, and then just figuring out how to make it better. And one thing we did to really kind of like start collecting that user feedback was I was hopping on onboarding calls with literally every single user that hopped on the platform. So we were just pitching it to everyone. And this is like we were booking like 150 to 200 calls a month. So I just freaking like it was my least productive couple of months in terms of anything outside of those onboarding calls. But for those it was like super, super it was just super like eye-opening because I like got to interact with all our users in looking at how they saw the platform and like, hey, this like I don't understand what I need to do. Which like I don't know if you've been using it for a while, you kind of know, and it's kind of just second nature. But for someone that's just hopping on, you don't realize what you don't realize. Was that was a huge one, just hopping on onboarding calls with everyone. And obviously, it's not the most scalable thing in the world, and I'm not doing it anymore. But it helped us ton, a ton. And it also helped me really like systemize the process to where now there's kind of like an SOP and the people that are doing it just follow that. So it was really useful. And it's cool kind of getting to know everyone because they don't expect the guy on the YouTube videos to be the ones that onboard them, especially for like a low ticket SaaS product. But yeah, it was really nice.
So I ask this question a lot because I think it's a sticking point for a lot of founders, a lot of owners. When you are gathering feedback and you do have different points of view that come at you,
Mhm.
when's the right time to pivot based on feedback, and when's the right time to essentially ignore it and push through and carry on?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple things. I would say that definitely the volume of the feed, like if it's just one person and it's not something that is directly impacting the majority of your users, like I would say it if if it isn't a clear priority, then you can kind of just kind of write it down and be like, okay, once I'm done taking care of the big fires, then I can get into this. But I don't think necessarily like user feedback is always meant to just kind of get rid of every other priority and then just because someone said it. There's obviously something to be said about like what they have to say. But if it's not a huge problem in the company and the majority of users aren't experiencing it, then I'd way rather prioritize the big issues. And so it's definitely something that we take into consideration of like, okay, well, there's a couple users complaining about this. We should probably fix it. But there's this other huge problem that if we don't fix this, we're probably going to go down. So I think it's kind of just choosing your battles and being good at prioritizing, which I think is pretty hard, especially with a small team, right? Because I mean, we have like Jayan and then another dev. I mean, they're both super, super good, but it's kind of like, okay, well, where are we going to use our resources? So I think just prioritizing and making sure, yes, the users feel heard and like, yes, we're working on this. However, like we're all running businesses here, so we need to prioritize, obviously. So I think it's a priorities thing. That's the biggest thing I'd say.
Would you say, is there like a system that you use to prioritize, or is it more qualitative?
I think it is more qualitative as of right now. I think it has a lot to do with the number of users that it impacts and to what degree it impacts them. Because if it's something that impact a lot of users, then there's probably a way to get around it. Uh, and so we can probably just give them that solution without having to use up a bunch of our dev team's resources. So I think it's a very case by case situation. But if it's, I don't know, it's the first person, for example, with us, sometimes the lead scraper will like not work for a couple users. So it's like, okay, well, the lead scraper is a huge thing with our tool. So if it's not working for whatever reason, like we need like everything else just drops and the dev team just goes to work on that. Right. So even if it's just one person talking about it, odds are if one person's talking about it, other people will also have that issue just because it's kind of like a recurring thing, but it's always like a quick fix. So it's like, okay, if this is happening, let's just fix it real quick and then we can go back to everything else. So I think it's the degree to which it affects users and how many users are being affected.
Yeah, I wonder because there's like the Eisenhower matrix of how urgent it is and how easy
Yeah.
it is, essentially. That
Yeah.
if there's some sort of system, and not just in terms of user feedback, but in terms of business decisions and priorities that you make as you're in startup mode and scaling. If there's a system used for the decision making that you do, or if it is a case by case, take it as it
I
comes kind of thing.
I like thinking about it more so in the like, okay, what is the one lever I can pull that's going to give us the biggest ROI? And so this whole year it's been ads, right? Because up until this point, I mean, we just started running ads for Drippy February, March of this year. So Drippy was alive for like a whole 2 years without ever running ads. So it's like, okay, if we actually want to keep scaling, we need to just dial in our ads and we need to figure out how to do this. And at that point in time, I didn't think so. I was having this like internal discussion. It was okay, do I want to figure out how to build because you guys have seen the like B2B influencer play or B2C influencer plays where these guys just have a bunch of influencers talking about their stuff. And I kind of wanted to crack that for long form YouTube for B2B. But I was like, okay, well, which one is going to give us just better ROI and which one's going to give us better, like quicker results. And then I just came to the conclusion that was going to be ads. So then I went all in on ads. I bought like this expensive course. I just tried learning as much as I could. It's like, okay, well, these are the two things. Like if we want to keep growing, if we want more traffic, then it's either we, obviously we're still doing everything we're doing in terms of content, in terms of outreach, affiliate outreach, like partnership outreach, all that stuff. But it was like, okay, which one of these two do I think is going to give us better ROI? So now we're going all in on ads. Once ads are down and we get that, then we can probably ask ourselves that question again, be like, okay, what's the biggest thing right now? And then solve that. I kind of just like asking myself that question. What's the biggest thing? What's the one lever I can pull that's going to give us the biggest ROI? Um, and then going after that one for a season, getting it done, and then moving forward.
Yeah, you said a lot of really interesting things in there. One is knowing what to prioritize. And I could relate to my time in tourism in Japan. Like I mentioned pre-call, there's kind of a desire to get a perfect score, and that can sometimes conflict with getting the best score. And one thing I had to say on occasion was to the group that I was leading, I have to prioritize the majority. if there's one person that became a liability, you would have to leave them behind to make sure everyone got what was promised. As you know, Japan runs like a Swiss watch. So you miss
Yeah.
one thing, you missed everything.
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing for me to do at first, but I'm glad that I had to go through that crucible, and it has helped me with my prioritization afterward. And it sounds like perhaps with some of your flux and adaptability, you've kind of developed some heuristics or some street smarts, if you will, on just kind of intuiting what you need to focus on to keep the greater whole happy.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I definitely like now that you guys say it, I think we should have a system to make it kind of more less subjective. But I guess for now, the stage we're at is just it's just been working. But I definitely think making it a little bit more robust is gonna help us out. So I appreciate you guys for that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
balance, really, isn't it, between the
yeah.
creativity that's needed in startup mode to be more fluid and to be subjective. The systems kind of really make more sense in corporate structures that are huge and loads of people.
That
But
is
that is
true as
that
well.
when that middle ground comes and as the systems come into play, I guess, which is
Yeah.
the navigating it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For other small to medium sized business owners out there thinking about running ads, what did you learn about advertising that you'd like to share with them?
Oh, that's a huge one. So everything I know about ads is pretty much from Daniel Fazio. I don't know if you guys have heard about him, but it's the guy that runs marketing for Listkit. Those guys are doing like 1 million a month right now. Uh, and so I think that the biggest thing is a couple things. I say number one, when you're diving into the ads manager, it can be pretty like when you're diving into it for the first time, it can be pretty daunting because there's a bunch of stuff. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like for example, I had this issue where it just wasn't loading for me at all, and it was because I had a bunch of Chrome extensions like downloaded onto that Chrome browser, and I was like, that doesn't even like you don't even make that connection. So I
Hmm.
hopped on a call with this guy, and he was like, "Dude, no, you have a bunch of Chrome. Like it won't work." I was like, "What? How does that even make sense?" But I think it's just kind of diving into it and then just getting familiarized with everything and where everything is, just kind of playing around. So that's number one. So you're not like daunting. So it's not a scary thing to do to log in and check your ads every day. Uh, Number two, we use Hyros. So just for tracking purposes, you kind of can't go about it without using Hyros. Another thing is especially for people just starting out, like you really don't want to be running ads unless you're able to spend at least $200 a day. Because at that point you're just it just takes too long for you to see results. Um, Another huge thing is not necessarily checking the ads manager every day and making just kind of micro changes based on a day to day kind of fluctuations that you see. Because obviously, ads, as with any marketing like, channel, it's not just a appointment booking or demo booking machine. Like it's actual people they're looking at your ads and then deciding whether or not they want to click the learn more button and then deciding whether or not they want to opt in and then deciding whether or not they're going to actually book a call, go through the whole thing. So it's not just so like what I'm trying to say is that there will be fluctuations, there will be good days and bad days. And I feel like a lot of people, especially at the beginning, because you're spending a bunch of money, you're like, okay, well, I'm spending at least like 10K a month on these ads. Like I need to see something. So it's just kind of being able to bear the pain a little bit and knowing kind of what the end goal is and having a look at the math at the end of the day. Because sometimes people will be like, oh no, my cost per call is too high or whatever, right? But they forget that the math is making sense. So it's like, okay, well, my cost per call is a little bit up this month, but like the ROI is still crazy. So it was probably just a weird month. There's probably something going on. So that it's not a big deal. Another thing, and again, this is very much a Fazio thing. It's I now prefer to add a bunch of friction, like have the friction be done by marketing and not so much by the sales team.
Can you
Uh,
explain that?
yeah. So right now, how the funnel is set up is we have an opt-in, right? So it's the ad, learn more, opt-in. People opt in. As soon as people opt in, they get prompted to look at the VSL. After the VSL, there's a little button, and then it takes them to a type form. This type form will disqualify anyone that doesn't agree to the price. So we tell people the price be upfront, and then we like qualify them by asking how much money they're making. And if they select that they're making less than X amount, then they'll be hit with another question, essentially saying like, "Hey, you select that you make this amount. Our product or our this service is this much. Like, are you like you're gonna hop on a sales call? Like, are you sure you're good to go?" they say no, then they don't even see the calendar, right? So it's just not showing the calendar to unqualified people, which will make your cost per call go up, but it also makes your booking rates, cost per call go up, booking rates go down, but close rates go up. So CAC is actually down compared to if you didn't add that much friction. And so it's really been a game changer to where you start, like, you don't just go for the vanity metrics of like, oh, what's my cost per lead? What's my cost per call? It's more so, okay, what's my CAC? It's just CAC to LTV at the end of the
Right.
day.
That's like your net.
Yeah, exactly. So I think those have been the biggest things for us. And then also just dialing in all the systems that happen on the back end, which is what you don't see. So a lot of people, I think, because obviously you can go in and check everyone's ads in the Facebook ads library. You can go in and like funnel hack people, but you don't really see everything that goes on in the back end. And the back end is really where all the money is made. So just having an appointment setter dial everyone up within a minute of them opting in, and making sure that appointment setter knows exactly what they're saying to get people on the call, making sure they're not booking unqualified people on the calendar, making sure there's like all the email sequences, all the SMS sequences are set up so that people actually show up and they actually know what you're talking about, making sure like all that stuff, just the little things are really what make the difference. I just went on a rant, but yeah, this is my whole world right now.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I saw Becky get excited. I better get.
Well, my background is in sales and sales training, and there's
Nice.
nearly always a fight between marketing and sales. Sales complain
Yeah.
that the reason that their numbers are down are because marketing didn't get them quality leads or enough leads.
Yeah.
And marketing say it's the sales team's fault, they didn't close it, we got the leads. But I think the beauty of startups, because it's so small and you have a handful of people overseeing the whole thing, it's not about blame or responsibility. It's about ultimately what generates the best for the business. And that might be the inverse for other companies than what you guys have done. But as a salesperson, it's really nice to hear somebody say, we put the barriers in at the marketing stage so that the sales process is as clear and easy as it could be.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we just want our sales guys to be taking calls with qualified people and know exactly what we're offering, that know the price. And it ends up just being a bunch of like roll-up calls because people like have a couple questions. If they've gone through the VSL, which is essentially just a bunch of sales calls I put into Claude, I asked it, hey, what are the most common questions? What are the most common objections? List them out in order from most to least asked. And then that's it. That's our whole VSL. It's just me going through like case studies and then going into and just answering all the most common objections we get on sales calls. So if they go through that, odds are most of their questions will be answered. To be fair, most people don't go through the whole VSL because it's like a 20 or 30 minute VSL. But then they just have a couple questions. Sales guy or I answer them, and then they're like, okay, let's do it. And it just makes it so much easier. And we just want our sales guys to get like as many shots on goal as possible with qualified people, not necessarily have to do these like super long sales cycles, which I mean, most calls end up being 2 call closes because it is cold traffic, but it's just been super useful to not kind of just put a call booking link right after the ad. Because obviously I think we'd book a lot more calls, but they'd be way less qualified and our CAC would probably be higher.
You said something that I wanted to double click on. You mentioned that you learn more in one bad launch than in 3 years of school. Could you unpack a little bit about the reality of early stage building, such as rapid prototyping, cold outreach, and doing things that don't scale? And if you
Yeah.
could share one key challenge, whether it be customer churn, AI limitations, or founder burnout, and how the team overcame it.
Ooh, that's a great one. That's a great one. So I think in terms of one bad launch compared to like years of school, like when we first started ads, I think that like that's a great example. So I spent like 14K of my own money on this program, and then first like 2 months of ads, it was like crickets. I mean, not crickets because we were booking a bunch of calls, but we just weren't booking like qualified calls. So maybe at this point we were like 35K in the hole, just like trying to figure out ads. But then obviously like month 3 came around, and then all of a sudden like we're like in the green for the month, and then month 4 comes around, now we're in the green. So it's like, okay, well but it's all because of the mentality, I think, of, all right, let's just try to figure out, we're probably going to lose money at the beginning, but this thing works. So we just need to dive in, figure it out, make it work for us, right? Which I think is a huge thing nowadays, where people kind of assume something won't work for them, or they don't try to make it work for them. And I'm very much of the mentality of like, okay, well, this works. There's no way ads don't work. There's so many people doing them, so many people making a ton of money on them. Like, I just need to make it work for me. So that was always the mentality. It's like, okay, well, we're probably going to be in the hole for a bit, but then we're going to get out of it, and then it's going to be really profitable, and that's kind of where we're at. Uh, and then the second part of it was the like burnout. What was the second part of the question?
Well, just one key challenge and how the team overcame it.
Well, yeah, I guess that was a big one. I think when it comes to teams, especially being remote teams, it's really important to have everyone be aligned in everything. We did this is kind of a funny one. So I did before like ads started popping, and then I was like, okay, guys, like this next, because we signed, essentially we're running ads for the setup offer, which is, it's not an agency offer. It's more so like we build out the system and then we just deploy it into like their company or to the client's company, and then they keep running it. We're obviously there for support. But the 1 month we booked, or we closed maybe like 12, 15 people, and then we were going to double our ad spend for the next month. So I was like, okay, guys, well, this was a tough month. I know I made this like whole presentation. It was like a 60-slide presentation. It was kind of funny. And then just making sure they're aligned, be like, okay, well, this is what we're doing. It's only going to get harder from here. It's only going to be more work. It's only going to be more clients. It's only going to get more stressful. Are you guys in? Or are you guys not in? Like, I'm just being super upfront. Obviously everyone was in, like everyone was super hyped. It was a great call. But I think as whoever runs the team, you have to make sure that everyone is aligned and that there's no bad apples. Because obviously, like as you scale, things will start to break. It's just the I think keeping incentives aligned is also huge. So it's like, okay, well, they're incentivized to reduce churn, make sure people don't churn from the like setup offer and just the regular SaaS product as well. Um, I think just having those calls and being transparent with like your team, and like, okay, this is where we're at. This is what's going to happen next week. It's probably going to be a lot of work. It's probably going to be way more stressful than this month. Let's rock. Like and I think there's like a motto, right? Because I'm 24. The team, I think I'm the youngest one on the team, and that they I don't know. I feel like we lean into that, or I lean into that a ton of like, hey, like we're doing this, like this is, I mean, obviously it is a very small company still, but I mean, numbers aren't too bad for a company that's been alive for 2 years with people that have never ran a company before, and just a bunch of 20-year-olds, right? So just
Yeah.
leaning into that, I think has been great, and just hiring really good people. I think we've been really lucky with our hires, and I think a huge plus is the fact that I'm like Mexican and I speak Spanish. So us being able to hire in Latin America and have that culture like not be weird to where, oh, the founder doesn't speak Spanish, or you know what I mean? I think that's been huge too, because we have a bunch of things in common. It's like we hire a lot from Bolivia, and like two of the girls that work with us came to visit me in Mexico City. I mean, they came to Mexico City and I was just there, so we ended up meeting up. It's not like they came to just visit me, but just being able to do that, we like went out, we like it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of being cool with your team, I think is the best thing. And that'll help just the team go through anything. Cause yeah.
Do you have any tips about hiring top talent? Because that is a challenge.
Yeah, to be fair, I think we've just been really lucky, because it's not like I have this like super elaborate process of like, all right, this is what we're doing. I guess now we do have an application and there's a bunch of questions that they have to go through, and then there's a Loom video, and then I hop on calls with them. But most people we end up hiring are usually from referrals from the team. So it's like whenever we're hiring, like, hey guys, we're hiring. Do you guys know anyone? That has been the best. I think it's good for two reasons. Number one, they probably know, like whoever recommended them knows them already, so it's easier for them to kind of help with training. And then number two, if someone you trust is recommending this person, then you kind of automatically trust them as well. So everything is just quicker. They get up to speed a lot quicker. They know, like there's no kind of like, oh, I don't know what the boss is going to say, or like, because they've already asked all those questions, whoever recommended them. They already know it's like a safe place to work. Like no one's crazy. No one's going to be yelling at them.
Or at least that
But
you're kind of crazy.
Yeah, that cultural
Exactly.
fit is probably way more likely to be there from a recommendation anyway than from a
Yeah.
going through multiple strangers before you find that.
1000%. Yeah, no, that the culture fit I think is huge and something I really look for on calls when I'm interviewing these people. Just making sure like, okay, like, is this person going to kill the vibe on our calls or no? And then I guess for some other roles, we do work with just some recruiting agencies, and that's been pretty useful. That's been pretty useful. I think it's more for roles where we need a lot more experience in that specific role. I tend to hire more for just like, okay, is this person smart? Are they coachable? Because I think just hiring smart people is kind of the best thing you can do. And that's really all you need, just smart people. I don't necessarily look for a bunch of experience unless it's something um, where I'm like, okay, yeah, if they don't have experience, even if they're smart, it's probably not going to be the best fit.
Mhm.
You seem extremely positive and happy and smiley and energetic towards your business and towards what you're doing, which is so lovely to see because not a lot of people do have smiles on their face for as long as we've been talking. What is it that you do that keeps you motivated through the hardship
Wow.
that can be having a startup?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know what keeps me motivated. I think or well, no, I guess I now that I think about it, I do have something. Here in Mexico, it's like I'm not gonna say it's frowned upon to drop out of school, but it's definitely not as common as it is in the States, especially coming from a family like mine where my dad's a lawyer, my brother's a lawyer, right? So it's kind of the next natural step for me to also be a lawyer. I think that motivates me to where now I have a little bit more pressure of like, okay, well, dude, you dropped out. Now you actually have to make it.
Yeah.
you know? And I think that keeps me motivated. And then just the fact that there's not a bunch of people. I feel like sometimes we're in a bubble, or at least in like the like online make money online space to where we think there's a bunch of people doing what we're doing. And I don't know anyone. I mean, I guess now I do, but it's buddies like online buddies. Not a bunch of people doing what we're doing. And I guess I've always liked just not doing what everyone else is doing.
I relate.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And no, I'm just really happy. Like before hopping on this call, I was just I've been trying to just be thankful for the like more thankful for the little things. It's like I live a really good life, you know. Like I'm about to hop on a call. Like it's Thursday 9 a.m. I'm about to hop on a call, like a podcast, like that. That's it's so exciting to me. I can just go hit the gym whenever. I can go box whenever, pretty much. I get to work with a really cool team. I really like enjoy working with people I work with. Stuff isn't doing too bad. Like the business isn't doing too bad. I don't know. I just think there's a like healthy. I just think there's a lot to be thankful for. Even if obviously like every day there's problems and there's issues and fires that need to be put out, but like grand scheme of things, I think things are there's nothing for me to complain about, honestly.
That's great to hear. I think
Yeah.
that we could all be a little more grateful and just focus on what we have and where we're going. You said something that I think is really wise and like worth all of us kind of keeping in mind. None of us want to look like a fool. None of us want to make mistakes. You learn Japanese, Becky learned Spanish. And when you're first starting out, you make a mistake. You think you can know that word. Now it's a different context or a different conjugation or whatever. And it's like, oh, and, it's embarrassing. But that's how you learn. And that's how you learn with anything. And you said, don't wait to feel ready. Just start building, even if it's messy. And I think that's really important for people to keep in mind across generations to test ideas early and learn through direct feedback, but also to keep your ego out of it and let the data talk, as you said. Could you maybe unpack how did you discover that is what was important?
Yeah, I think there's this phrase I like called ready, fire, aim. And I feel like I've been very much of that mentality for a couple years now. And but I don't think I've been like that my whole life. I think growing up, like my brother's like the smartest guy ever. So and we all obviously always went to the same school. So everyone just always had that expectation of me as well. So my brother got straight A's. He always got like the principal's awards. He was always like always top of his class. And it's not that I did bad in school. Like I did like decent, right? Like A's, couple B's, like it's fine. But I think that helped me to realize like, okay, well, I'm probably never gonna be my brother in school. So it's fine if if things aren't like perfect. And then when I got into law school, I remember my second semester, I failed a midterm. And I was really close to failing a couple classes. I ended up not failing a couple like any classes that semester. But I was like, okay, well, it's actually not the end of the world. Like, okay, I failed a midterm. Everyone I lived with, because at the time I lived in like this residence with like a bunch of, it was like 30 guys living in this one huge house, which is really cool. But it's kind of like, okay, well, everyone knows I failed the test. Nothing really happened. It's not like they're changing their perception. Like nothing actually happened. And I think that was kind of the turning point for like, okay, well, I can just do anything. Doesn't really matter. I think just kind of failing taught me that it's okay to fail. And I think in school a lot, it's like, no, well, you can't fail. You can't like look down upon it. And people become perfectionists to where they're scared of failing. And I've just tried to make it a constant in my life now of just trying new things and obviously not trying to fail, but just knowing that I'm not going to be good at the beginning. Like I started or like bouldering at the end of last year, and obviously I sucked, but now like I've kept going and now I'm like decent at it.
Mm.
I started like I just this 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I signed up for like a half marathon next month. And like I started training this week and I suck and I get super tired and I'm super sore right now. But it's like, it's just part of the process. I was doing jujitsu. I remember the first class I got tapped out by like a 13-year-old kid. So that was embarrassing, but it's just kind of part of the game and realizing that you kind of have to go through that to
Yeah.
get good. It's just part of the game. And it's been good for me, I think, to just keep reminding myself that I'm not all that and that I suck at a whole bunch of things. Kind of,
Well, going back to my course I mentioned, the one thing the professor said that resonated with me strongly was we are becoming. I think we tend to kind of get fixated on I want this label, this title, this
yeah,
arriving, but you're fluid and you're learning. And there's a quote from a movie that I love. I've told Becky about a couple of times. Auntie Mame. It's like a movie in the '50s, I believe, and she's telling her nephew, "Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death." And another quote, like they're putting braces on your brains and trying to like be too fixated. And I think, I mean, I relate. I get embarrassed if I make a mistake. I don't like feeling stupid and stuff. And Lord knows I've done that more than once. But it's like when you go through it, I think you realize that that's part of the chemistry of growth. And people, or when you are trying to avoid looking like a fool, or trying to like look at what would it look like, what would my perfect streak look like, what would my perfect profile look like if this happened, like this failure, like you said. I think that it's like trying to run a half marathon with only one leg.
mm,
Technically possible, but it's going to be very, very difficult.
yeah,
Whereas if you can just get through that initial discomfort, it's like all upside on the other end.
yeah. No, I agree, and I think you end up getting there quicker if you fail first. I think there was this quote. There was this quote. I think I heard it from Bedros Keuilian. I think it's or maybe Dan Martell, I don't remember, but it was fail fast, fail forward. I really
Right.
liked that.
Yeah.
So it's just to start, you'll fail, you'll fall, but you just get up and you just keep going. You're probably gonna get there quicker than the person that was just trying to make everything perfect before starting.
There's an
Um,
implicit understanding there as well, that fail forward. I think sometimes people, oh, failure is bad, you know, and they maybe look at an example of someone that keeps failing. It's like, well, yeah, they're not failing forward. I mean, you don't
mm,
want to necessarily keep repeating the
right.
same kind of mistake over and over, but if you have the intention of learning from it, I think that it's necessary.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, that is a huge one. Yeah, because if you just keep making the same mistake over and over again, then it's probably not the best. But if you use that and you learn and you apply it and then you keep moving forward, then
I like
that's where we want to
the
be.
expression you said earlier, like ready, fire, aim. And I could see that being triggering to many people.
It is.
And I totally relate. And because it's once again, it's like glass half full, glass half empty kind of thing, where wherever the, let's say in this case, the bullet on the target goes, now you know exactly how to calibrate. Whereas someone else is trying to do so much, like wind patterns are changing, and they're like, and it's like, oh, I just want to get it perfect. And I mean, I'm not. It sounds like I'm knocking it because I'm biased to the former, but I have to acknowledge they each have their place. I can't
I
deny that.
agree.
But there's also this desire, I think, to try to recruit as many people to your side as possible. It's like I want everyone to believe in what I believe and think like I think
That
and
is also
all
very
this.
true.
So, but I think for an entrepreneur that a certain amount of that is necessary, and perhaps also a certain amount of advisors or confidants or friends that maybe think differently, just to kind of check yourself. But again,
Right.
you have to think what ratio is helpful, because otherwise you could just get paralyzed by indecision. Oh, should I,
Right.
shouldn't I? So
Exactly. Especially at the beginning is what I find, because now a bunch of friends are like asking me, like, "Hey, how'd you do this? Like, how'd you guys start this? Like, how do you get started?" Right? It's like the biggest question. And I think a lot of it is just not caring and then just starting and not having the perfect logo and having the perfect website. So
guilty.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
I want my like storefront to look perfect, and I'll figure out what I'm selling.
exactly, exactly.
Do you have any like upcoming features or expansion plans you can share with us regarding like broader AI use on the roadmap?
Yeah, so we're working on, and essentially right right now, if you wanted AI to reply to messages within Drippy, then you kind of can't get that set up. But it's almost done. It's almost ready to go to
Nice.
where it'll be able to send messages automatically and then reply to messages as well after you train it a little bit. So I'm really excited about that. Also, right now we don't have like API access. We can't like shoot your data anywhere. And that's pretty much done, so that should be a game changer for a lot of our users. That's one of those where it, like, a lot of people have been asking for a long time, so I just went straight to the top of the priority list. So yeah, those two I'm really stoked for.
Awesome. And where can people get in touch with you and follow what you're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, people can find us Drippy AI on YouTube. They can go to just drippy.ai. They'll see a bunch of videos on how to use the tool. It'll probably be my face on there. I'm on Twitter. It's just my last name, Peñuñuri, Alex. And then if anyone, I guess, wants to email me, alex@drippy.ai.
Nice. It was a real pleasure speaking with you. Yeah, you're
Pleasure's
doing
all mine.
exciting things.
I appreciate you guys a ton. It's been my pleasure.